Hello, everyone. Welcome to Keep Indiana Learning. I'm Lena Darnay, a professional learning specialist with Keep Indiana Learning, and I am so excited to introduce everyone to my friend, AK. How are you, AK?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Outstanding. And we were just chatting right before we went live about how AK grew up in Texas, and I did my undergraduate in Texas, and we were just chatting, and turns out, fun fact, we found that we have something in common. AK was a panther, was her mascot in high school, but turns out she was actually the person in the mascot costume. Oh, my goodness. And so I was laughing because my very first job when I was in high school, I was 14 and a half, and I lived on Pikes Peak in Colorado, and there's a little amusement park there. And my job was to be Honey Bunny and to dance around to play me some mountain music. So I feel like we could go back to our mascot roots and dance around in big, giant mascot suits.
Now, my question for you is, does Honey Bunny still reside at that theme park outside of
Pikes? Gosh, I hope they retired that costume because it smelled terrible when I was there in the early 90s.
I love
We're not here to talk about mascots, but we are here to talk about unique pathways to post-secondary life. And AK now works for School Links, and we're so excited to have her share her experiences with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, my friend.
Yes, thank you, Lena. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for letting me talk to you for a couple of minutes or talk at you. As Lena said, my name is AK. It's Amanda Kate is my professional name, if you want to put it that way, but I go by AK. So just a little bit about me before we get going. I'm out in the state of Utah. I consider myself a Hoosier, right? Because I've been working with the state of Indiana for over 6 years in the education space, and I've just grown to love that state full-heartedly. So I consider myself a Hoosier, but maybe not full force Hoosier. So today I'm actually here to talk about Hoosier, creator of your future. And that's kind of what you have to think about after high school, right? So if we go to the next slide, it's going to be the topic, right? The 4 lessons I learned after high school. Now, this is by no means all the lessons I learned, by any means, but it's 4 of the ones that I thought might be beneficial to a junior or a senior or even a sophomore or freshman, right? Whoever's watching this, hopefully you'll get some good stuff out of it. So before I go into the lessons that I've learned, I should probably give a little backdrop on me as a person, and it might make some of the lessons a little bit more applicable. So to set the stage, grew up, as Lena said, in a small town in Texas. I think my town had 1,200 people when I graduated. I graduated with 50 people, and my graduating class was 2001. So if I do make a joke or say something that sounds like I'm a child of the 80s, I am. So go with it. I'm an extrovert. Not sure if you can tell that or not, but I am. I love people. I'm an adventure seeker. I'm exploring. I'm outgoing. That's kind of what frames my life, right? And then growing up, I was all about living in the moment, making sure the moments made the most sense to me at that time. So thinking about growing up, my family, they never really threw post-secondary options at me like, hey, you should go to college. Hey, you should do this. It was, let's find what you love to do, which I still loved. Loved my family. Mom went to college but didn't graduate, and then dad didn't go to college at all. So maybe that's why it wasn't really pushed. But I will say grandma and grandpa definitely talked about post-secondary options for me. Grandma was a teacher. Grandpa was a doctor. So they, of course, both went to school. And they told me, hey, you should look at options. So, of course, I started. And that's where our first lesson is coming from. Is the lesson I learned is first, college is great. College is awesome, but it's not for every single person out there, right? I feel like sometimes people say, well, you have to go to college to do this, this, or this. And sometimes you do, right? To be a doctor, a lawyer, but not everything. So that's what I think I'm excited to talk to you about today. So first, high school, growing up, graduating 50 class, right? I was in FFA. I was a student athlete. There was a couple other clubs in our small little town that was offered or different routes. One was Future Homemakers of America. Yes, Future Homemakers of America. I didn't really want to take that class, nor did I want to be part of that club. So I just figured athletics and ag was the way I'd go. Also, I didn't have like the best grades, so I wasn't going to get into a college based off my 4.0 GPA or my high-ranking ACT or SAT scores, but I did well enough to play sports and do exactly what I wanted to do in high school. And our counselor, great lady, love her to death, but post-secondary wasn't necessarily always thrown at us consistently, right? It was mentioned time from time, but it wasn't like, hey, you should do this or you have to do this. Side note, growing up in Texas, Texas schools are like, just stay here. Just stay in Texas, stay here. Don't go anywhere else. Be with us. The problem was I didn't, A, know what I wanted to do. B, I didn't really want to stay in Texas my entire life. And so I had to figure things out, right? I had to try options. And so what options did I have in my small little community? Well, back in the day, remember I graduated in 2001. My tiny little town had a few, but I had to figure out what was right for me. So options, right? First, I wanted to be a vet, or maybe I thought I wanted to be a vet tech. So I thought, let's work at the veterinarian office. I loved it. I love animals. I love dealing with the large animals, small animals, and even the people. The problem is I couldn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life just because I love animals too much. I couldn't see them go through the pain. So I scratched that. I also wanted to be a marine biologist, right? I wanted to go live on an island in the Gulf of Mexico and help dolphins. Shocking, that didn't happen. I also tried out being a receptionist and working at a gas station and a convenience store. I pretty much did everything I could do that was given to me. And I started to realize, okay, what do I want? What do I like? Well, I like people. Maybe I should work in a restaurant. So I started working in the local restaurant. From there, I found out that, yes, I do love that. I love people. I love the tips that you get from working in a restaurant. I love the people you get to meet, and you get a free meal, right? You get your shift meal. So what more could I want out of life? That was great, but I was still in high school, and I had to figure out what I wanted to do after high school. I knew I didn't want to get stuck in my hometown. And I say stuck, I don't mean it's stuck. For me, I knew there was more out in the world that I wanted to see versus staying in Blanco, Texas. So I had to figure out what's going to frame my life, what's going to frame my college adventure, my post-secondary, what options do I have? So I knew I didn't want to stay in Texas. I knew I was adventurous. I thought about all the things I could do. And the only thing that really came to mind at that time was business. I should just go get a business degree. Business is everywhere and everything. I can cover all my bases. So that's the next step, business degree and go to college. I got this. How? How do I have it? Like, I don't have the best of grades. I didn't really focus on college things my entire high school life, and I didn't really think I was heading that route. So what do I do? The only thing I was super passionate about at that time was volleyball, right? I was a student athlete. I played volleyball, and I thought, man, there's got to be a school out there that will take me. There's got to be a school that will give me a scholarship based on that. My family didn't have that much money, so we had to find money to go to school on. So I started doing what I thought I needed to do, working hard, applying for colleges, seeing which colleges out there had a volleyball program. I sent out my volleyball video. Yeah, VHS video. I get it. Kids nowadays with their, NIAA, all of your college sports aspects are amazing. I had to send out VH videos that I made myself with background music. So I sent out my videos. I got called back to a couple different colleges. I got to go try out, and I got a scholarship to Baker University in Kansas. I'm on my way. I'm out of Texas. I got a scholarship. I'm going to college. So I get there. College is great. College is so much fun. Oh my God, I love it. But I had to sit back and think to myself, I'm not top 1% female volleyball player in the nation, so I'm not going to turn this into a job. this college is pretty expensive that I'm going to. I mean, the scholarship didn't pay for everything, but it covered a big chunk. And if I'm going to be staying here for 4 years, I better really like what I'm doing, because again, it's a lot of money. So what I did was I took a step back and I said, there's got to be something else out there. So I finished my first year of college at Baker University and then transferred over to a school in Arkansas, NWAC, Northwest Arkansas Community College. Again, I'm thinking I'll just finish out my core classes, my prereqs, and I'll get on my way and find something I want to do. Business degree. I still would sit there in class and just think to myself, this does not excite me. Yeah, I love business, but it's not exciting, right? I wasn't enjoying what I was doing and learning. So I figured, why waste time and money? Let me find some new things. Let me go try out more options and see what it is that I really might want to do. And then if I need a college education for that, I can always go back, right? But let me figure myself out. So I finished out that next year at NWAC and I took off of college, right? I didn't finish. So I figured, what do I already know that I like that I can get into right now to get a good job and be viable? I went back to the restaurant industry, right? I loved it. I knew I loved it. I enjoyed people I met. But this time, instead of just meeting people, I wanted to try every job in the industry. So I was a cook, a sous chef, a bartender, a waitress, a manager. I did everything in the restaurant industry until I found what best fit me, right? So what best fit me, my personality, my strengths, my weaknesses, was serving. I loved being a server. And the reason why I loved being a server is because I met some amazing people. I built some amazing relationships with those people. I got to know them. And that leads in to my lesson that I learned next, right? Networking. Networking is key. This is the biggest thing I probably learned. Yes, I've already gone to the college side of the world. I gave that a shot. And now it's time for me to make something of myself. But how do I get my name out there? I don't have a resume with a college degree on it. I have a good resume, but that's about it. So in this restaurant industry, I realized quickly that networking and relationships kind of go hand in hand, right? The relationships I built at the restaurant were amazing. Why? One, those people would come back. Two, if those people were business people or owned corporations or offices, they would bring in their clients or employees, right? I'd get more repertoire. They'd also make me more money, right? The better relationship you have with those people, the better you are to get better tips, make more money in the long run, and they'll come back and see you. I quickly also realized that it's not what you know, but it's who you know in some of the world. So by doing that and by figuring that out finally in this world, I started to say, who do I want to meet? If I have a table, I need to get to know them a little bit. And if I find something intriguing about them, I want to dig in deeper and build that relationship, meet the right people. I'm going to meet tons of people, but I just need to start meeting the right people. So I started learning about what these people do, what they love or hated about their jobs, what they thought about good employees or who a good employee would be. I all of a sudden started listening and thought about what sparks my interest. What can I see myself doing in the future? So as an extrovert and as a networker now, because I, of course, have the skills, I started putting fillers out there. Yeah, I'm serving your table, but, if you ever know of any job openings or, hey, do you know of anyone hiring someone like me and my personality or whatever the case was, I put my foot out there, right? Scary because you're going to get some no's. No, we're not hiring. No, you're not good enough. No, you don't have a college degree. But eventually you're going to get that person that says, yeah, I'm going to give you a try. The other side of that is once you start putting those fillers out and you start networking, people just start coming to you. Hey, here's my card. Why don't you look into our organization? Hey, give me a call sometime when you're looking for a job. I think you're a legit person. So that all started to flow with the networking that I started to build. The people I would serve, they started to really see something in me. So I had one group of ladies that would come into my restaurant. I'd serve them. We'd have great conversations. I knew they worked at the mall, but didn't think anything of it. Well, then all of a sudden they approached me. They said, have you ever thought about retail, working retail? You got a great personality. You're friendly. We'd love for you to come work for us. I thought, retail, I'm no fashionista. I've never done retail before. I mean, it's working with people. Okay, I'll give it a shot. Might as well try it, right? You got to try everything to see what's out there. So I jumped out of the restaurant industry because, again, I know I could always go back to the restaurant industry. It's always going to be there. I know I can kill it. But let me go ahead and try something different. So I jumped in head first, right? Retail. I started at a store called Charlotte Russe. I loved it. I loved working with the people. I loved trying on all the clothes and buying all the clothes. I half the time left with the paycheck, but I had some really cute outfits. From there, I started as a sales associate. I thought, well, what can I do to better myself here? I want to be the best sales associate. What has the most person ever sold? I want to beat that, right? So I started setting goals for myself. I started thinking, well, how am I supposed to make this job work for me? I also found out quickly that I could move up in this type of world. If you have good sales, you can become a manager or a team lead, and that was my goal. So I started working up the chain. Well, side note, the mall, everyone talks, right? Mall, they have got chatter groups. People talk, and people talk about who they hired, who they didn't, who has a great interview, who was the worst interview, who they would recommend to go to another store or be hired for another store. So as I started learning this and hearing about the talk that was going on in the mall, right, I started thinking, what do they talk about when they talk about me? What is my personal brand? What is it that I offer society that they don't even know yet that I offer, but they can see it or they've heard about it? So building my personal brand was the next thing I did within that networking world. I started branding myself as someone who worked on my strengths. I would take a topic and I would learn about that topic and be able to teach it back to my employees. I learned about my strengths and my weaknesses and made sure that I could get a little better at each of them, right? I tried to make sure to learn the industry. The retail industry was new to me. I could have gone to college for it, but I didn't. So now it's time to really start to understand the industry that I'm part of. So as time goes on, I start building my personal brand, and then I start networking even more. But now in the retail industry, that restaurant industry led me to this. So what can that retail industry lead me to? So as the networking kept going, the relationships kept being built, I started to push my personal brand. And little did I know, more and more companies would reach out to me and say, hey, do you want to come work for us? So with that, I was able to then take my networking and what I had learned and work for companies like Dillard's, Nordstrom, The Buckle. And with each of those companies, I got to move. I got my adventure in my world. I got to go and meet new people, see new places, run new stores, manage new people. And I absolutely loved it, right? The nice thing is it still hit my passion, which was meeting people, dealing with people, working with people. But again, it was something that I enjoyed doing. So I think I've said the word passion a couple times, right? It's not every day that you get to find your passion and run full-heartedly with it. But if you can, it makes things 10 times better. And that was the last or third lesson that I learned, right? Passion paves the pay. Yes, passion paves the way, but you got to have pay in there too, right? We want to be contributing members of society at some point. So you need to make sure that the job that you do is going to pay you back. So when I think about passion, it's kind of hard, right? You might say, hey, I want to be a lawyer. I have passion to be a lawyer. Okay, but you got to find passion of some aspect of that career or that job you follow. Because let's be real, you choose a career, it might not be your career for the rest of your life. I mean, on average, people change their careers 5 to 8 times in their lifetime. But there's always a little bit of passion in the background because passion pushes that play button, right? Passion says, hey, I want to go learn that a little bit more. Or, hey, I want to dive into this job and be a little bit better because that passion is behind it. Not to mention, passion makes the pay 10 times better, right? Some people say money doesn't make happiness, but money can buy me a boat and that can make me happy. I might be broke, but I'll be happy. So when I talk about passion, find it, right? Try out new things. Find what makes you happy. Think about what you could do daily as a job without looking at the clock when you know that your day is about to come to an end. That's the one thing I love about the jobs that I've had and the job that I have now is my passion outweighs a lot. I don't ever take a look at the time. I don't think, oh my gosh, I only have 10 more minutes left of work. I can't wait to get out. It's, oh my gosh, I only have 10 minutes left. I have everything else left to do still. I enjoy what I do, and passion helps that. So if I take a look at my passion, volleyball, right? That was a passion. Heck yeah, it got me a scholarship. It got me to get started in my world. So that was my first passion. And that was my first goal. Get out of high school, go somewhere, get a scholarship, do something. Restaurants. You wouldn't think restaurant would be a passion, but it was a huge passion. I had a passion for people. I had a passion to do good in that job. And so because of that passion, I got better tips. I met the people that I needed to meet along the way. And with restaurants and even my retail industry, I was able to move around. That adventure corner of the frame of my life was being fulfilled every day. And I loved it. Retail. The passion that grew in retail was immense. I learned to love my clients and finding clothes that fit them and made them feel great about themselves. I loved sales leadership. I loved teaching people how to sell their product and make people come back and buy more from them. I loved educating my employees. And I never once thought education is going to be the route I'm going to go. Yep, education. I should be a teacher when I grow up. That's what I'm all about. But little did I know that because of retail, education became my passion. So where does that lead us? To today. I worked in retail for 10 plus years, absolutely loved it, moved around companies, moved around to different states and organizations. But from retail, my passion grew in education. I then moved over and did college recruiting. I was able to work with juniors and seniors and teach them about life after high school. I taught them how to write resumes and interviewing skills and budgeting and learning how to be an adult somewhat. Absolutely loved it. That led me then to my previous job where I worked in Indiana at Canvas LMS. I loved working with educators and technology. I sell SaaS. Did I ever once think as a high school student that I'm going to be selling technology to education? No, not at all. Didn't ever once think that. But because of the lessons I've learned and the path I've taken, it has led me to now where I'm at in the ed tech world that I have a huge passion for, because every day I get to sell a product that actually helps benefit the end users and success. So with that, I'm going to leave you all with the last lesson. Go tell your story. Go tell your story. People want to understand what makes success for certain individuals, right? It's not all a cookie cutter. It's not all a one size fits all. But what does success look like for you and you and you? And if you tell your story, somebody else might hear of that and it might spark their interest. It might say, hey, I never thought about that route. Maybe I'll take that route. Or maybe I'll think about that option. And when you tell your story, own it. Own it. If you don't go to college and you get a job and you start an entrepreneurship, own it. If you go to college, own it. Get that degree and run with it. Tell your story so others can hear it. And it might make the change in their life. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is a quote that my grandpa used to tell me all the time. I thought he was a little nuts sometimes, but persistency is the key to destiny. Persistency is the key to destiny. If you're persistent and it's followed with passion, your destiny and your success is exactly what you see it as. So good luck out there. Thank you all so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, I loved it. Oh, I loved it. I just think that it's so important to hear that not all journeys are straight lines from A to B, that they often have loops and squiggles and they overlap and they go back and forth on top of themselves. And I just loved hearing your story. And thank you for sharing that with us today.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for allowing it. I hope, I hope people hear the story and write their own. That's it.
That's great. And visit keepindianalearning.org. We've got lots of great content there. AK, I hope we can continue to work with you and hear more of your story and work with you through School Links. We're so thrilled. Thank you, School Links, for letting us have AK for a little bit of the afternoon. And we'll wrap up here. We've got one more live stream today for our college and career readiness. So we'll see you back here at 4 o'clock. Thanks,
everyone. Thank you.